It's an investigation you'll see only on Fox.
The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation Administration is facing questions over whether or not employees were knowingly put in harm's way by working in a building that contained potential health hazards. From answering phones to preparing paperwork for court cases, Shirley Atkinson was dedicated to her work for the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. But her husband, Daryl, remembers when she first got sick.
I don't know when she first noticed it. I finally convinced her to go to the doctor because she had been complaining about things in 2010.
The diagnosis? Cancer. She lost her battle against the disease April 8th, 2015.
I haven't got to where that's easy to talk about.
Daryl believes his wife's health problems were caused in part by the building she worked in.
A good portion of the people that have worked there long term have developed cancer.
The problem is mold, which scientists say can cause a myriad of health problems. The carcinogenic effects of mold toxins are still being studied. However, studies commissioned by the OSBI say mold could make employees sick. A report issued to the agency just months before Shirley died pointed directly to the increased health risks mold presents to cancer patients. There are 12 offices plus 2 laboratories in the Lawton field office, but the building was also where field agents who office from their homes were officially assigned. This official OSBI memo from Lawton Special Agent in Charge Richard Goss in 2014 indicates 7 of 48 employees who worked in the building developed cancer. Also in 2014, Criminalistic Division Director Andrea Swike references an email she sent to OSBI administration in 2007, where doctors diagnosed one of her employees with a bacterial infection caused by mold. In a written response to our inquiry into the problems in Lawton, the OSBI points to a 2007 study as the beginning of issues in Lawton. However, these internal memos exchanged between supervisors and the OSBI administration show that is not true. An assessment of the mold issues sent to Agency Director Stan Florence by Agent in Charge Richard Goss in 2014 indicates water leaks were first spotted in 2002. At the time, the OSBI was just leasing the building, but went on to get legislative approval to purchase it. In response to questions about the building's history with mold, Goss notes mold was identified in the pre-purchase inspection of the building. This 2014 memo from Director Swike notes that the Lawton lab has had mold issues well before 2007. However, when the OSBI commissioners requested information about the situation in 2016, Director Florence provided them with a summary that indicates the problem was only identified in 2007. With recommendations for remediation made by the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center's Department of Occupational and Environmental Health. According to these internal emails and memos obtained through open records requests to the agency, some employees were concerned about how completely those recommendations were followed. The 2007 study recommended replacing all the mold-infested surfaces. Daryl remembers the work that was done.
Up to the bottom of the windows or so, and clean the area in there, but I don't know of any place in there where they actually took everything down from the floor to the ceiling.
In response to questions about the extent of the remediation, the OSBI says they hired contractors to do the work, which cost more than $150,000, almost a third of the more than $470,000 purchase price of the building. However, according to this 2014 memo by Andrea Swike, the remediation was supposed to have been overseen by agency administrators, including then Division Director and current Deputy Director Charlie Curtis. This memo from Director Florence indicates recommendations, including the installation of dehumidifiers and removing all mold-affected surfaces, were not done. Daryl remembers the repairs and the frustration of the staff that all the report's recommendations were not followed.
I was always under the impression that it was to basically placate people. It was not to actually take care of the problem.
In this 2016 email, Director Florence told the commission that oversees his agency that mold did not return until 2014. However, this timeline written by Agent in Charge Goss to Director Florence in 2014 indicates mold actually began to reappear in 2008, exactly 6 months to the day that employees moved back into the building following the supposed completion of the 2007 remediation suggestions. Daryl says after his wife became sick, He told the agency he would use his experience working in real estate for the city of Lawton to help find a new home for the lab.
That's why I told all of the employees that I would do whatever I could for them, because I don't want anybody else going through what I've gone through.
Right now, the Lawton building is officially unoccupied. It was supposed to have been abandoned in September of 2016. However, in a written statement, the OSBI said employees do sometimes go into the building for short durations, but only when necessary. Current OSBI employees told Fox 25 that the building is still being used by agents to conduct polygraphs and other interrogations, which potentially exposes unknowing members of the public and agents to mold toxins. Phil Cross, Fox 25.
This is only on Fox 25 tonight.
So you've got a group of friends, and you want to hang out for the holidays. How about a party bus? Stop! There's something important you need to look out for. Just listen to Corporation Commission spokesman Matt Skinner.
It's very important, first of all, to make sure that the carrier has the insurance that's required by law.
Insurance? Well, that sounds like a bit of a buzzkill. Why is that so important?
Let's just do the math. There's 20 people and there's a terrible accident. You can easily see, if you divide 20 into 5 million, how quickly that could add up.
In Oklahoma, party buses, which are defined as vehicles that can carry more than 15 people, have to have at least a $5 million insurance policy. But how do you know if your party bus has that?
It is a very large problem, continues to be a problem in Oklahoma. Obviously, the longer someone has been in business, usually the better chances that you're dealing with someone who's reputable is carrying the insurance.
You can also check the OCC's website. That's how we found one operator who actually warned customers to check the OCC, but when we did, we found out that bus should have been parked. The commission says those buses have been running for almost a year without approval. The OCC sent a cease and desist letter promising a $500 a day fine until they get back in line with the law. And the commission says it takes inquiries like ours and tips from you, yes, you, to help them put the brakes on unlicensed buses.
Yes, we don't have the personnel to do that, and at the same time, of course, it's much easier for a business to advertise a little bit under the radar because of social media and Craigslist and things like that.
Because if you don't check first and the party bus is stopped, even for something as simple as a traffic ticket and they aren't registered, you and your entire party could end up stranded. A sobering end to your night that could have been prevented. Phil Cross, Fox 25 News.
New details in this Fox 25 investigation.
More than a week ago, we began asking questions about the documents we received from the Attorney General's office. Those documents were nearly 2 years old, requested while Attorney General Pruitt was still suing the agency he's now running. After a week of asking, the AG's office confirms what our analysis first exposed. Public business was happening off the official email servers.
There are no other email addresses, if that's your question, Senator.
That was former Attorney General Scott Pruitt testifying before the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee. Documents recently obtained by Fox 25 indicate his statement was a lie. This email shows Pruitt was not only receiving copies of official emails, but also conducting state business using an email address his office wants to hide. The AG's office confirms Pruitt did use a private email account for public business.
If we don't know what public business government officials are doing through their private email accounts, then we might as well just throw out the open government laws.
Media professor and open government advocate Dr. Joey Sennett says that using a private email for state business doesn't exempt those communications from record requests. It took a week for the AG's office to say they did search Pruitt's private email account for responsive records. The office says there weren't any additional emails found.
There's no law against it, but it might be time in Oklahoma, for example, to say you simply cannot conduct the public's business on private email accounts and private cell phones.
The AG's office says it is committed to the letter and spirit of the Open Records Act, but Pruitt's former office is just now filling requests filed more than 2 years ago.
Our own state Supreme Court has noticed that open government's vital to a democracy. Open access to what government's doing. That's how the public monitors what government's doing.
While Pruitt's written and verbal testimony to the Senate committee about his email use was not true, there is no indication his statements were under oath. Still, he has promised that as EPA director, he will not use his private email accounts to conduct the public's business. Phil Cross, Fox 25 News.
And we did try to contact Pruitt's office at the EPA. No one would answer the administrative phone number, and we couldn't leave a message. But a regional press office did send out requests for comment to his office. We just haven't heard back yet.
It's a story you'll see only on Fox.
USA! USA! It was a hero's welcome for the veterans and their guardians as they arrived in Washington, D.C. A trip to see the monuments to service and sacrifice in our nation's capital. From the World War II Memorial in the shadow of the Washington Monument to the gaze of Lincoln that looks across the National Mall's reflecting pool. The memorials to those who fought and died for their country are somber reminders of past sacrifices. But on this day, they are the backdrop for an even more momentous meeting.
I grew up in McLeod, Oklahoma, and I was a Boy Scout in Troop 477. I moved out to D.C. in 2001.
There's a reason Jess Speaker III is fully outfitted in his scouting uniform.
I couldn't sleep last night, and as I've thought about it this morning, it kind of got me choked up because I know how much he has impacted my life.
He's been waiting outside the Lincoln Memorial to say thanks.
I didn't recognize you.
Speaker is waiting for Billy Given.
This boy here was that tall when he was in my scout troop 100 years ago.
Yep.
Look at him now.
Given fought in Vietnam, but his life of service continued when he came home to McLeod and became a local Boy Scout master.
You can't ask for anything better, and this is wonderful here. Wonderful.
It has been a day of thanks for all the veterans. Many, like Givens, never received a warm welcome after war. Today hopes to make up for that with thank yous throughout the day. At every stop, strangers let the veterans know their service mattered and their sacrifice provided what we enjoy today.
That was a surprise too, it really was. The people were tremendous. I just wished it had happened years ago when I came back from Vietnam.
As Lincoln once so famously said, history will little note nor long remember what was said here. But on this day, it is actions that are speaking so much louder. From the thanks of a nation to the thanks of a former Boy Scout who's now leading his own pack and passing on the lessons of service and sacrifice while joining all those showing the men that history nearly forgot the gratitude they so richly deserve. From our nation's capital, Phil Cross, Fox 25 News.